Now, Labour has held what it called an emergency roundtable meeting with business organisations over the impending changes to business rates. The government has promised extra help in the budget for small firms facing increases, but Labour today published its 5-point plan. It includes a fund worth £150 million a year for the next 3 years for small and medium-sized firms at the risk of bankruptcy due to sharp and unmanageable rate increases. The Shadow Business Secretary, Rebecca Long-Bailey, now joins us from Westminster. So, Rebecca, how much is this going to cost and how would you pay for it?
Well, the Emergency Transitional Relief Fund is £150 million per annum, as you say. Another aspect to our plan is to move forward proposals by the government to change the indexation of business rates from RPI to CPI. Now, that's estimated at £350 million per annum. We have put forward a number of proposals as to how to fund this. We did a lot of work on the finance bill last year and noticed that a particular business relief, entrepreneurs relief, didn't appear to be working effectively in many areas. Now, whilst we welcome the principle of entrepreneurs relief, there are certain aspects that could be tweaked, and we've put those forward in our proposals as a part of our 5-point plan, and we hope that the government will consider them very carefully.
So you take away existing reliefs, essentially, then, and that's how you'd fund it. I mean, the government's already put in a transitional relief fund of some £3.6 billion. Another £150 million on top of that is neither here nor there, is it?
Well, £150 million will be very welcomed by certain businesses who are currently on the edge of a cliff. I mean, I was talking to the hospitality sector today, and pubs in Stoke, for example, are looking at seeing a 300% increase. Pubs in Lancaster are looking at seeing a 498% increase. So we do need more money for the Transitional Relief Fund, and we hope that the government will put forward robust proposals in the budget. We welcome what they've said so far, but we call on them to go further. But ultimately, Ian, we've seen from the current discourse on the business rates issue that the system simply isn't working effectively. It isn't right that the big four superstores are seeing a 5.9% decrease in business rates, while small businesses in city centres and on high streets are seeing an increase. We simply want to reform the system so that it's fair for business and it does support businesses large and small going forward.
Are you saying that we shouldn't have revaluations, though? Because, I mean, if we go down that route, then we're going to end up in a similar situation with the council tax, where we've got valuations that are a quarter of a century old.
Well, if we look at the current system, the business rate system is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years, and that's where the problem lies, quite frankly. I think a more periodic review of the business rates would provide businesses with certainty, and it may in fact cut down on the amount of appeals that we're seeing. Now, appeals is another issue that members of the industry have been quite vocal on. The CBI, the Federation of Small Businesses, the British Chamber of Commerce voiced concern last year at a government consultation which tried to change the appeal process and bar tribunal judges from revising business rates valuation if they found that within their reasonable professional judgment that the business rates were acceptable. Now, many industries insiders are saying that this reasonable professional judgment could mean anything between 10 to 20%. There's no legal precedent for it. It's very ambiguous, and it leaves businesses in a state of extreme uncertainty.
Do you still believe in a mansion tax in the Labour Party? Because, I mean, that operates on a very similar principle to business rates. The more expensive the land, the more you pay.
Well, what we're calling for in terms of business rates reform, and we held a very good meeting today with members of the industry, we want a comprehensive review of the business rate system as it is to assess how efficient it is and how fair it is. Now, there are a number of options that the industry could look at. There is land value tax, for example. There are increases or decreases to corporation tax. We want the government to carry out a comprehensive review of all the options so that the business landscape is fair, because what we're seeing at the moment with the current rates revaluation certainly isn't a fair landscape by any stretch.
Now, while we have you, Rebecca, a lot of bookmakers are making you a favourite to be the next leader of the Labour Party. Do you have any ambitions in that direction?
Well, I think fake news wouldn't even go anywhere near that, Ian. We've got a leader and we're all backing him at the moment and working very hard to ensure that he gets elected at the next general election.
But is Jeremy Corbyn still going to be Labour leader at the time of the next general election?
Well, I certainly hope so, and he hasn't made any moves to suggest otherwise.
But you'd quite like to be leader if the opportunity came up, would you?
As I've said, Ian, it's not even something that's even entered my mind. I'm about supporting Jeremy and making sure that we have a robust industrial strategy going forward and that we create a business landscape that supports small and medium and large businesses. And that's why we've called for this business rates review today.